Hello everyone, can you just tell me if you can hear us okay, either on chat or in the Q&A? Hi everyone, can you hear me right now? Okay, so we will slowly, that's great, that's great, thank you. So we will slowly start. I will start the recording of this meeting as well, and we will be able to show you the presentation. There might be some people joining in the meantime, but let's start on time. So with me here, I also have Milena, who's going to join us for the beginning of the presentation and potentially for the end. Milena is probably the person that you have already met. She is our recruiter in Cisco, and she is recruiting for the incubator program as well. But let me also introduce myself. My name is Joanna, and I'm a program manager at Cisco in Krakow in Poland, and I run the whole incubator program. So I manage all the different tracks that you will see today, and yeah. So maybe let's start. You see that on the right of the WebEx meeting, you have two ways to ask questions, either the Q&A section or the chat section. During the presentation, I will not be able to see them. I will then, once I stop presenting, by the end of it, I will revert back to the Q&A section, and I will answer all the questions that will be possible to answer within that time frame that we have. But feel free to ask them throughout the presentation whenever you see something that is unclear. Now the presentation is scheduled for around 1 hour and a half. We should not go over time, so hopefully we can use this time best possible. So what I will present to you today is basically what's incubator, what are the different programs, program components. It's a large program with many different tracks that some of them are obligatory, some of them you may opt in if you join the incubator. I will explain to you also how to join it, what is the application process, what is the recruitment process, and also what are the options after the incubator to get a job at Cisco in either Krakow or Brussels hubs. And I will share a couple of testimonies from this year participants to show you a little bit how they liked it and, to get a feeling basically of how the program is. So let's jump right into it. So here you can see a little image of a maze. We like to think about it as well. When you start your first quest for a job in the IT industry, it might seem like you're standing in front of a maze like that. It is not an easy process. When you graduate from university, very often we see that people have this feeling that, okay, so where do I start? After graduating, do I have all the skills that I need to get a job in IT, to get a job, for example, in a company like Cisco? It is not easy, and there is definitely a gap in terms of skills that you may have, in terms of the knowledge that you may have. And incubator is basically a way that we created at Cisco for you to kind of close that gap, right? So within the incubator program, what we try to do is to guide you, navigate this maze with our help, and potentially give you these skills to kind of close that gap and be really ready for a job in IT industry. And I would say not only at Cisco, this applies to any IT company. I think all the big companies operate on a very similar basis, and you will see once I explain all the different components of the program that, if you want to join Incubator, if you will join it, then definitely you will get skills out of it that will be very useful for you in the future, whichever path you choose to take, whether you decide to stay with Cisco or whether you decide to choose a different company. So let's jump right into it. What's in the incubator? Basically, in a nutshell, why we created this program is to provide you with all these skills, right? So if you join Incubator, you would get in-depth technical training, possibility to get Cisco certification. So you can get a CCNA or CCNP if you already have a CCNA, and you would get a voucher within the program to get that certification. You would get regular sessions with our technical experts from Krakow and Brussels hubs to expand your knowledge about Cisco portfolio. We are known very often as a networking company, but honestly, there is so much more to Cisco than just networking, just purely routing and switching, and you will be able to see the breadth of that portfolio within the incubator, and also, maybe choose what is the most exciting topic for you. Not only technical knowledge, but also practical business and soft skills. Incubator is created basically by the services organization within Cisco. So services are basically engineers who work with customers. That means that you need to be really able to talk to customers, sometimes in stressful situations, sometimes you need to negotiate, sometimes you need to present something to them. And these skills are also something that we try to provide within the program, and that you can, raise awareness about these skills, but also practice them with us. We also offer a possibility to get trained and practice Python for automation. So we have a training that is an online platform, and our engineers also created an environment for you to practice that and actually develop and deliver a project that would work in a Cisco environment. So that's not something that everyone has to do, but we had I think around 50 people out of 100 last year that opted in for that Python track, and it was a very, very exciting and a very successful one. You will also get a professional recruitment experience. So if you want to join Incubator, you will go through a shortened version of an assessment center. So you will see exactly how this kind of professional assessment center at Cisco looks like. And you will then, if you want to get hired at Cisco by the end of the program, also you will have an opportunity to join our assessment center, a full-blown version of it. And every time you get feedback from either Milena or one of the recruiters about how you did. So you can really check what your skills are, where are the areas that you still need to work, and what are your strengths. And I think that's really valuable, whether you want to join Cisco or any other company. I think what's really a lot of fun is the community that you enter. You really get access, and we use Spark, which is one of our collaboration tools, to connect all of you together and with us. It's a really diverse international community, and I think a network by the end of the program, a network of friends and young professionals from all over the region. So I think that's a huge benefit that is a bit of a side effect of the incubator. You'll also get a chance to see how such a large multinational company works on a daily basis. We design incubator the way that you are able to actually experience how it is to work as an engineer in services, and you really get to talk to these engineers on a monthly, daily, even basis. And I think that's another advantage of it, that you have access to all of these engineers, technical leaders, managers, recruiters, something that you wouldn't get otherwise. And you have, I think this exposure really gives you a heads up against all the other people, right? Because you really get an insight from us into how we work. In a bit more maybe details, how it looks like is, if I manage to go to the next slide, yeah. How it looks like, we have three things that I kind of mentioned in the previous slide that are the core part of the incubator and that are mandatory for everyone who enters the program. So I think the biggest one of them, and it's also an opportunity to interact with engineers and managers most, are the seminars. So throughout, you'll see the timeline in a moment, so you'll see exactly when it starts, when it finishes, what are the dates. But it lasts from October till February, and every month, depending on your location, you will have a full day seminar, so that's like 7-8 hours, usually on Thursdays or on Fridays, and that's depending on your location. So you can join it via WebEx, you can join it via telepresence, so come to our office, for example, I don't know, in Madrid or Kiev, and join it via telepresence, which is a video conferencing solution, or if you're local in Krakow, you can also come to the office. This is a full day deep dive into a particular technology, so architecture, or a soft skill. So 4 of these are dedicated purely to technology, and 1 of them is dedicated purely to soft skills. So soft skills that are actually needed and used in a services engineer job. These seminars are more like workshops, so whether it's on-site, whether it's via telepresence or via WebEx, you will see that in all these different options, it is very much something that is extremely interactive. We have a lot of different collaboration tools that we all use during these seminars, so even if you're joining via WebEx, you'll definitely have the feeling that you are part of a group, and you will get exercises, you will be able to work in groups, get to know people, experiment a little bit more. If you're here in Krakow, then you will get to also play with some devices. So that's also something that is really interesting. Now, also these seminars are aligned. These seminars have kind of like sub-level, which are the webinars. Webinars happen every week. They're for the whole incubator group, and they last just 1 hour, sometimes 1 hour and a half. Usually they happen on Wednesday afternoons, and you can join it from anywhere, so from home, from your laptop, as it happens via WebEx, so like we are talking right now. And this is more of a quick overview of a particular solution, so a particular product within an architecture, or something completely new that we're introducing when it comes to technology, or a particular skill. So, for example, my colleague Milena delivers sessions on how to prepare for an assessment center, how to prepare for specific recruitment challenges, how to write a CV. So you get also a variety of these. There are usually around 25 webinars within one incubator cycle, and they are also kind of integral part of that program. And then the last kind of mandatory piece of it is CCNA, also CCNP. So I'll talk about CCNP later on, but majority of incubator participants take CCNA, as usually they don't have this certification or have little networking background, because we also accept people who are not networking students, right? So whether it's software or maths or any other thing. And so here also you would get a CCNA bootcamp, and I'll show you in a couple of next slides how it's delivered. You get an online platform to study, and you get study support from our engineers, as well as a free voucher. This free voucher is conditional, so you need to attend all the other parts of the training and take a quiz on seminars and webinars knowledge, but then you can get a completely free voucher for CCNA, which is normally around $300, right? So I think it's a very big benefit as well. For the CCNP, we do not deliver bootcamp, as usually we don't have enough people to do that, but we also provide an online platform and online resources for studying. And we also, you have access to our engineers also for study support. And you can also get a voucher for one of the modules, right? So depending on which one you already have, you would get a voucher, for example, for CCNP, I don't know, troubleshooting or routing or switching. So this is these are the components that are mandatory within the program. And then there are also parts that are maybe optional, right? So here you can join them if you want to. As mentioned before, the Python bootcamp is Python for automation is one of the tracks. We introduced it last year, as you might know or you might not know that Cisco is strongly transitioning towards a software company, and all our engineers at some point will have to know at least some software basics, some programming basics. So we really appreciate these software skills, especially in early in career people like yourself, and we want to develop them. So regardless of the level of knowledge that you have right now, you can be complete beginner, you can have already some knowledge, you can join the Python bootcamp. You will get a training, you will get an online platform access as well. And then you get to practice that. So you get exercises from our trainers, as well as some projects that you work on in groups, and you deliver them by the end of the program to our instructors to also see, whether you were able to do something together. Another option that is non-mandatory are the professional skills. So here we teach basically soft skills. We coach people on soft skills, business acumen, and very much customer relations, right? So you really get to understand how it is to work with a customer, what's important, but also how to work with a team. All these things that are kind of crucial, we think, to anyone who's working with customers, to anyone who's basically working in a large multinational company. So I think they are very useful to everyone. Here we have a limited number of seats on this track because obviously we need smaller groups to practice that, but it is also an opportunity and was very successful last year. I think on top of that, and kind of this is not an option or not an option, this is something that just happens, is the community that you join. So every year we have around 100 people that we accept into the incubator. We use the Spark community to connect everyone together and to connect them with us, with Cisco employees. And this community lasts even beyond incubator. We have still people from incubator 5.0, so the 5th edition that finished in March, that are still connecting, that are still talking on Spark, that still are asking us questions. So it's really something that is really I think unique in incubator. And also the relationships that you build, all the friends that you get around Europe, I think is really huge. Whether you join Cisco or not, I think it's really an amazing experience, basically. So these are, in the nutshell, the program components. These are a couple of pictures from our seminars. So on the top, you can see one of the seminars on routing and switching in Krakow. On the bottom, you have also on the left the group in Brussels visiting the lab, as you can guess. The telepresence group in the middle. So the participants, I think, here in Belgrade, Kiev, and in Spain. And on the very right at the bottom, you also have the office tour led by one of our managers. We do that as well for people who join in Brussels or in Krakow, as we have a large presence of engineers there, and they can show you labs. They can show you basically how Cisco office looks like. So that just give you a taste of how it looks like in reality. So you're probably asking yourselves by now how you can participate in the incubator. So it's pretty straightforward. We are now 16th of May, so I would say you have to rather hurry. Because this is the end of our recruitment cycle for the incubator. But there are different, you are probably from many different countries, and you're probably wondering, okay, so how do I join if I live in, I don't know, a city that is located from very far from any Cisco office? If you're here in Krakow, then it's a bit easier, but let me go one by one through all of them. So Krakow is our services hub for the EMEA region, so Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Russia. And everything that is possible to happen in the office happens in the office during the incubator. So for the seminars, you come to the office for the whole day. We have a CCNA bootcamp that is held in the afternoon, so you can come after your work or after your studies, and that's also on site. You get the webinars are virtual for everyone. What you get on top of that, as we are located here, are the office tours, as I mentioned, and also integration events. So if we have a group big enough, we also provide integration events. Now the second option is, as I said, telepresence. So this is our video conferencing solution, and it is in every Cisco office. We have offices in majority of European countries, usually in capitals. In bigger countries, sometimes there are more than one office. Now, we only open a telepresence group in a location if we have 4 or 5 or more participants in that location, right? So if you're based in Madrid, for example, and you're the only one based there, unfortunately, we won't be able to open a group, right? We need a kind of critical mass to do that. But if there are more of you in one location, and that is usually true for the following country: Ukraine, so Kiev, Belgrade in Serbia, in Greece in Athens, Madrid in Spain, and I think and Brussels, of course, in Belgium. So usually these countries have a telepresence group, unless we have a bigger group somewhere. We're happy to open it to you as well. So these are very similar. It's just that the seminars happen via telepresence, so you connect via telepresence with all the different participants as well as with the presenters in Krakow. And everything else is virtual. So you get the virtual bootcamp, online CCNA learning, webinars. If there is a local office tour available, we also provide it to you if there's something interesting to see in that office. You have also a possibility to win a trip to Krakow. So if you're part of any of the virtual groups, we also have an option to come to Krakow. That's for the people who are especially active. But we had 5 people last year who came to Krakow from different countries to spend a couple of days visiting the office, meeting people here, and discovering Cisco firsthand. This is also true for the last option, so the fully virtual one. So wherever you're based, you can join it. You need a good internet connection, but apart from that, nothing much more. So here, I think that there's a bit of a mistake in the slide. They are not in office; they are virtual seminars as well as CCNA webinars, Spark, and also here you have a possibility to win a trip to Krakow. So this is how it works from a kind of logistics perspective. And when it comes to the kind of recruitment process on its own, as I mentioned, we're kind of closing the recruitment process. So if you're interested after my presentation, you should really click apply pretty quickly. We started that in February, end of February, and now finishing in May. So you can apply. You can see how to apply, whether either via Facebook. So we have a Cisco Engineer Incubator Facebook page, or just by going to Cisco Jobs, or just typing in Google Cisco Engineer Incubator. You should see our website, and you'll see the application link there. Now, the recruitment before the actual assessment center that I told you about, you will have a short, if you're eligible, of course, so we'll take a look at your CV, see if you meet the basic criteria that I will talk about later on. And you'll also go through the first stage is the pretty fun stage where you get to play a game for an hour. You get a link. You also need a stable internet connection, and then you get to play a game that kind of measures certain things for us. Once you complete that one, we call you, we talk to you just for a short period of time, and then you all of that is successful. You're invited to the assessment center. Assessment center sounds very big, but it's just basically 2 conversations that you have. One is with a manager, and one is with an engineer. We don't expect from you any kind of technical knowledge. We send you also a lot of preparation materials for it. You need to prepare something, but it's more around the stuff that is really that you are passionate about, right? So, or a Cisco solution that is like completely new, so everyone is at the same level of knowledge about it, right? So we want to really see how passionate you are about technology, how passionate you are about learning, about growing, about getting new skills. So that's basically what we're checking in that stage. And then the program starts in October, in the beginning of October. We start with some boot camps on CCNA and, seminars, webinars, and everything else. So that lasts for 5 months till end of February. And if you feel like after that period of time you want to join us, you want to get a job at Cisco in Krakow or in Brussels, then we have a special assessment center just for the incubator participants. For the graduate positions to start in September or even in March. So we will hold one as well to start in March for those of you who are already available to start work with us in March. But majority of our graduate programs start in September. So next year in September, you actually would be able to start in Cisco Krakow or Brussels within one of our services or organizations. So this is how it looks like. So I think it's if you want to apply, I think it's really high time for you to do that. What are the criteria that we take a look at? So that's when Milana gets a CV. She looks at, if you have in your CV the level of English, but that's also something that we check in the telephone conversation. It should be last year of study, so either bachelor's or a master's degree, and then basic understanding of networking fundamentals. So we're not expecting that you have already CCNA level of knowledge, because we provide you with that knowledge within the program, right? But that you have basic understanding of networking fundamentals and that you actually want to grow within that direction. We've had a couple of people over years that were completely not from a networking background. So even people who graduated from business studies, but they were really passionate about networking, and we let them into the program, and they are now working for Cisco, right? So it really depends on your motivation and your passion for technology rather than existing networking knowledge, right? And we're looking at your motivation, motivation to join the program, and willingness to learn within the program, right? So it is usually people take incubator on top of their studies or on top of their work. You need to dedicate quite some time to it. I'm not going to say that every week, but if there's a boot camp, or if you want to pass the CCNA or CCNP, you need to come to our office, or attend a seminar once a month. So it does take some time. So you should be able to commit some time during that period to the program, and we want to see that you are really motivated to join and to learn and to dedicate that time to do it. Yeah. But these are all the criteria, the basic criteria, right? So I think it's pretty it's pretty basic. There's not so much that we require, right? We don't even say which degrees, right? So if you're studying biology right now, but you're really passionate about networking, then if you convince me, then I'm definitely going to let you into the program, right? So that's on the program itself, and I will be happy to answer some of your questions that you may have later on. I wanted to also highlight to you a little bit what happens if you decide after the incubator to join us, to join Cisco, to join Cisco services, and to become an engineer with us. Because it's not like after incubator we just directly throw you into a job and let you swim. It's not like that. We still have a very extensive 3 to 6 months graduate program. So whether you start in March or in September, you will go through such a program, and that is of course in Brussels and in Krakow. I'm not going to go into very much details of these programs, but I think this picture tells it all when it comes to the people that join us. So this is a group that joined us in September 2 years ago. So you can see a lot of these people, I think that year was 75% of these people actually were participants of the incubator. So majority of our graduates actually do come from the incubator program. So it is absolutely the best chance for you to get a job at Cisco. Is to go through the incubator, because your chances are much higher to get that job. And that's just the group that started in Krakow, because we had one that started in Brussels in parallel at the same time. You can see that these people also come from all over the world or all over the region. They come to us like yourselves are probably from many different countries. Here is the same. So that also is a very nice group to start working with, because you're not alone in a very big company. You start with a lot of people that are very much at the same level as you are. You get an orientation to a big and complex company that Cisco is in the first weeks. You get an induction into your organization. You get technology training, so you will be assigned to a technology. You will be introduced to it in depth by our engineers. You get a mentor right away from the beginning. You get a lot of soft skills as well, at least 2 weeks of soft skills where we teach you really in depth how to handle customers depending on the job that you would be doing, and a lot of other things, a lot of learning, possibility to get certified, many different things. So in a nutshell, every program that we run is kind of composed of these 4 elements. So it's technology training and certification, it's soft skills training, it's mentorship, so you always get a mentor, and it's experience. So everything that you learn, you immediately apply it, right? In the incubator, you get a chance to do something very similar. It's not 100% that, because of course you are not here physically in majority of cases. But we still try to do really a lot to help you practice as much as possible, to help you connect with us and get, best technology training that we can provide. So this is how it looks like when it comes to the program. Here you can see some. I'll let you read through them. These are some of the testimonies that we got from people that participated this year. I think it shows you that basically it's not only sitting in the classroom and getting trained, but it's also a lot of fun. It's a lot of interaction. You get to know a lot of people. You get to create something. I think we have a little bit more about the CCNA bootcamp. So the picture here is from the CCNA bootcamp that Dmitry provided in Krakow this year. So, physically last year, but this edition that finished. And you can see some of the funny comments that our participants left in the surveys. And I have to say that they were also, so these are also about the WebEx bootcamp, right? So you don't have to worry that it's going to be boring if it's via WebEx and not in the classroom. Here you have also some pictures from the visit. So when they visited the Krakow office, and also some testimonies from the professional coaching. And that is basically everything that I wanted to share with you. I think that covers generally the program and like the basic things that we provide. But I'm very much sure that you have quite some questions, so feel free to ask them. I'm just checking which you are using. I can see that you're using both the chat and the Q&A. So let's see if I see that Milena has been answering them a lot. Oh, yeah, and Milena also sent you the link. So what other questions do you have? Is there anything else that kind of comes to your mind right now that you haven't heard in the presentation? So Alexander was asking if he would be able to register directly in Belgrade at a physical location. So you will apply to the incubator as such, and then if we have more people in Belgrade, then we will open a telepresence group in Belgrade. And for the last couple of years for Serbia, I have to say that it did happen, right? So we had enough people. But if you are accepted and we don't have anyone else but you, then you will be assigned to the WebEx group. So yeah, it's important that we will ask you once you get into the program, we will ask you where you will be located during that program, and based on that information, we see how many people we have, and then we decide if we open a telepresence location. But Belgrade should be a very possible option. We had a university event beginning of May in the Belgrade, I think, Polytechnics, and there was a lot of interest, so I think people will apply. You can tell your friends, Alexander, and maybe they want to join as well. Any other questions? Just looking at the Q&A. So Nikolaus, asks if I haven't worked in the network industry, I'm still a student. Is there any problem if I don't have a job experience in my CV? That's absolutely not a problem. And usually when people say that they don't have any job experience, they usually do have some job experience. So even if you work in summer at a restaurant, that's already job experience. So consider that as for one thing. But we don't expect that you have any job experience. So incubator is really not about the job yet, right? So it's about giving you the skills, and we are looking for people who have potential, right? So people who have potential to become great engineers and to become great engineers specifically in services, but we don't really have requirements when it comes to job experience, because majority of you are still studying, so you don't have much of it, right? Then we have another question. So I see there are questions about the specific applications. If you applied already and you have questions about that, I would advise that you direct them at our recruitment team. So ideally Milena, because I am unable to answer them right now. Right, I don't know the status of each and every application. So yeah. Vladislav asked that the requirement is to be on last year of study. If I get master's degree last year, can I apply? Yes. So normally we accept people, so that's a minimum requirement. So you have to be either in your third or you're in your fifth year of studies. But if you have already graduated, we consider applications as well from people who have already graduated. Ideally, from people who have graduated up to 1 or 2 years. But normally, yes, we do accept them, so that's not a problem at all. We have people who are already working, right, and participating in the incubator. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. So Yanis is asking, would you recommend joining the incubator program to an engineer that doesn't have a great interest in networking, but a preference in software or systems engineering? So I would say you have to really consider that then, because so Cisco and incubator are really a lot about networking technology, right? So whether it's routing and switching, security, collaboration, but it is really about networking in the first place, right? Also, if you want to get a job at Cisco, then your core job is going to be around networking, and only in a year to a couple years time, it's going to be more around, more focused on software. There are a lot of projects that you can get engaged. There are a lot of automation things that you can engage in very, very soon if you start your job at Cisco as a graduate. But at the same time, you have to remember that it is a networking company. So if you don't have a lot of interest in networking, then probably it's better to find something that is purely software, right? Cisco is a combination of networking and software. So if you're really not interested in doing anything with networking, that's probably not the right place for you, because it's you would probably not be happy either with the program or with a potential job, right? But also see for yourself, read about it a little bit more, because, you know, sometimes people think about networking only through the lens of what they have studied at university. And when you enter incubator, you see that it is so much more than just that, right? So it's also that you discover networking throughout incubator, but you have to have that willingness to learn about it and to actually also potentially work with it, right? So Francisco's asking, why do you offer the incubator program that is not directly related to get a job at Cisco? I'm not sure if I understand correctly the question. So incubator is, like Milena said, an educational program. So it is to kind of close that gap between university education and corporate or IT industry. And you can get a lot of skills from the incubator and not join Cisco, right? Every year we have quite some people who join incubator and they don't join Cisco, and I think they benefit from the program anyway in a great way. At the same time, well, it does help you to get a job at Cisco, right? You are the first ones to get assessed for the graduate positions at Cisco Krakow and Brussels in March, as I mentioned on the timeline slide. So, well, it is also connected to getting a job at Cisco, right? Kind of prepares you for that. I'm not sure if I answered that question correctly, because I wasn't sure if I understood it right. Let me just take a look at the chat. So Alexander is asking about Belgrade again. So you don't have to physically register in Belgrade. You just apply online, and then we will know that you are located in Belgrade, right? So you don't have to go to our office or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I have another question. I will soon complete the CCNA course. What would I do with this course within Cisco job? Not sure if I understand that correctly. So CCNA is the basic networking certification, right? So we expect all our graduates to have a CCNA. If you don't have one, you could still be hired, but we would then ask you to take it as soon as possible within Cisco. It's also very cheap for us to take these certifications, so it's paid by Cisco. But it is a routing and switching basics, right? So it is very networking kind of fundamentals. And at Cisco, I would say that's the basis, and then you build on top of that. So depending also on the technology you will enter, because, well, you might be hired in a routing and switching team, but that's a small team. We have, I don't know, maybe 300 engineers at this point, or maybe even more. I think we have around 600 in Krakow. And they all work in many different technologies, right? So it's the CCNA is a basis, but then you build your knowledge on top of that. If that answers your question, Alexander. Let me just see if we have anything more in the Q&A. So another one, for a graduate student, do you suggest to apply for the incubator program or the 6-month graduate program, or both? So everyone who goes through the incubator program and is hired to Cisco will go through a graduate program. So you are hired to a graduate position, and let's say you start in September 2019. You always go through a graduate program, so you don't have to specifically apply for it. This is what we're hiring for. You can also apply for a graduate position not being in the incubator. There will be, of course, a bit of less chances because there will be less slots for people outside of the incubator. But you can, of course, right? And then you will get the same training as everyone else. Yeah. So right now you can only apply for the incubator program, but next year in early spring, end of winter, we will probably have graduate positions open to everyone as well in Krakow and in Brussels. But that's that's a bit less than less spots than if you join the incubator. So let me see in the chat now. Okay, yes, so that's good. Any other questions you may have? I see you're quite a diverse group. There are a lot of people from many different countries. It's really great. So we have another one. Do you offer a fellowship during the incubator program? What do you mean, Stavros, by fellowship? Like an internship, or that you study and you work part-time? Or I would need some clarification on that question. So another question while I wait for Stavros to specify what he means by fellowship. It comes from Nikolaos. For example, like an Erasmus plus fellowship. I'm not sure what you mean by fellowship, sorry. So incubator is what I just described, right? If you're local to Krakow, or if you live here somewhere, you can get an internship possibility over summer or part-time throughout the year as well, but we don't. So I don't know. We don't sponsor relocation for incubator. We don't. So it's something that you can do remotely. We did have people who came here to Poland for specific seminars or things like that, but we don't really have anything where you would relocate or Erasmus like possibilities. Now, the other question is from Nikolaus. Students with graduate background at networking, do they really have an advantage from the other students? So I would say not necessarily. So in certain areas, yeah, it's probably easier to pass the CCNA exam if you already had courses at university that are networking. But if you're really motivated, it's not really difficult to get it. If you study enough, then we provide you with everything that you need to get it. The online resources that we have are extremely good, and also the boot camps that are provided by the engineers were very successful. People were very happy with them, and we had people who were completely not even non-networking. They were actually not technical at all, and they did go through the program. They took additional tracks as well, and they passed the CCNA, and they were hired to Cisco. So it gives you this advantage at the very beginning, but it's not really something that you cannot catch up with. And when it comes to Cisco, so like really starting a job as an engineer with us, I would say it doesn't matter so much, because you will see that the depth and breadth of knowledge that you actually need to gather when you start working as a Cisco engineer is so much bigger and also so much different from just the networking stuff, the basic kind of routing and switching stuff, that you will have to learn quite a lot anyway. But I think that's a huge advantage of Cisco, that you can learn a lot in a very short period of time, and you can learn from the best experts in the world. Yeah, you have access to loads of knowledge, and not only materials, but also people who are really willing to share that knowledge. And I think the strength of Cisco is that we share that knowledge and that we have these experts. So yeah, it would give you this head start in the beginning if you're a networking student, but honestly, I have seen people over years from different backgrounds, and it's not really about whether you study networking or software or something completely different, but about how much you want to learn and you're passionate about what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, I don't see any difference. The people who are really passionate are the people who progress most, who are the best with their technology, who become then expert or technical leaders, right? So just in the beginning, maybe it does give you, yeah. So another question is, what are the additional skills I need for this program that I can work on my own? I'm not sure, Yasirta, what additional skills you mean. I think incubator is mainly about giving you skills and knowledge, right? So what you really need is English. You really need to be able to communicate very well in English from the start, because everything is delivered in English. English is our kind of national language at Cisco. So if you cannot communicate, you cannot really participate in the training, right, or in the discussions. But then, motivation, willingness to learn, passion for technology are the things that we're looking for. The more kind of also, you are a people person and you like being with people and you like talking to people and you're more of a, team person, the better probably also, because, it's a services environment, right? So, and it's a group of people, but honestly, you don't really need skills skills, right? We try to take a look at the way you think, whether you think in a logical manner. We want to see how you communicate, but these are very basic things, right? Now, there is another one from Francesco. Will the incubator program only be offered by Krakow office? So the delivery, it's an EMEA-wide program, right? So as I mentioned, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Russia, but mainly focused on Europe, and it is delivered the way that you can join from anywhere in the region, right? So as I mentioned before, you can join in Krakow, you can join via telepresence, or you can join via WebEx, right? So it doesn't really matter where you're located. Do you require any certification for the English level? No, we don't require any certification. We check that during the phone conversation. Of course, the assessment center that you come to, right? So I just remember that maybe one important thing about the assessment center is also where you will be interviewed. So if you're located anywhere close to a Cisco office, we would invite you to our office for the assessment center. So if you're, I don't know, in Italy, somewhere in Rome, or somewhere in Spain, or in Ukraine, you would probably be invited to one of our offices, and the interviews would take place via telepresence, so video conferencing. If there's really no option for you to come to a Cisco office, so that's for people, I think we had cases like that in Albania where we don't have an office. We do that over WebEx, but that's an exception. And if you're somewhere in Poland or somewhere in Belgium, then it would be face-to-face interviews in Krakow or in Brussels offices. So another question from Vladislav is, if I understand all you're saying in the webinar, is it enough level of English? That's probably yes, but so listening and understanding is more of a passive knowledge of English, right? So you need to also be able to communicate. But I mean, I think the best advice here is just to try it, right? I mean, you'll never know if you don't apply. You might think that your level of knowledge of English is not enough, and we will say otherwise, right? So the fact that you're understanding everything that I'm saying is already very good. But I would say, you need. We need to hear it as well, right? So we need to understand that you are able to communicate, but I mean, it's for your own good, right? Because otherwise you won't be able to understand or interact with other participants in the program, and that's just not possible to follow the incubator then. Let me just check the chat window. So we have a couple in the chat. Is there an opportunity to work in Lviv in Ukraine and work for Cisco? We don't have an office in Lviv. We have one in Kiev, but we haven't had graduate positions open in Ukraine for a while. And it is also because we usually have majority of our services operations are in Krakow and some in Brussels. So if we hire graduates, we hire larger numbers of people, and we hire them directly into our services hubs. So it's very rare that we actually hire someone in Ukraine for these positions. If we do, it would rather be for a professional position, and that's also pretty rare. And professional meaning that it's someone who has already experienced, right? So But Lviv is very close to Krakow, so I think you should consider Krakow. We have a very, very large Ukrainian minority here in Cisco Krakow, very strong one, so you won't be alone as well. Now, is CCNA license permanent or whether it must be renewed? I don't think you have to renew CCNA. Also, you will see that if you join Cisco, you will see that CCNA is just a very beginning of your certification route. I think what is really, really valued here is CCIE, right? This is something people usually don't even go for CCNPs that much anymore unless they really want, or they go for a CCNA, I don't know, security or CCNA collaboration if they want to deepen their knowledge in a particular technology, but then they actually go and study for CCIE because that's the real big certification that everyone wants to have, and that really proves you're an expert. And also this one has to be renewed, so you have to take a written exam, so not the lab part that is extremely difficult, but the written exam that is a little bit less difficult every 2 years as well. So yeah, so that's for CCIE. Is it possible to work without an incubator as a junior in Poland, having only CCNA pass behind you? So if I understand your question correctly, Ruslan, it is whether you can apply for a graduate position within Cisco Poland having a CCNA only. Yes, absolutely, and we are happy if you have a CCNA actually. So I think that yes, if that's the question, then yes, you can. Okay, let me just see if we have any other questions in the Q&A. So another one is, can you share the presentation? Unfortunately, we don't share the whole presentation, but there are two things. So feel free to write to us. I think you should have Milena's contact. And we can send you some resources, but be specific. What do you want to exactly have? Use the website and the Facebook to learn more about the program. If you write to us on Facebook as well, we will answer all your questions. If you have specific questions, and that's also probably the quickest way to get in touch with us. So feel free to ask on Facebook as well, and we'll answer any particular questions about the program. And there is also, if you type it on YouTube, there is a movie as well that I won't share here because with the transfer with the WebEx, it's not going to be best quality. But you can take a look at the movie as well. It shows you a little bit of how it is to participate in it in a more visual way. So maybe I can even send you the link here in the chat. Let me just find it. And we actually did it this year, so it's pretty recent. You can see the Krakow office, some of the participants, some of the office places. So let me maybe send it in chat, and you will be able to take a look at that video as well. So I sent it right now in the chat window. Okay. So I think we don't have any other questions right now. Is there anything else you'd like to ask? I think it's, so if you don't have any questions right now, then I will be wrapping up. It's really probably the quickest way is to, well, you can, of course, contact Milena, but feel free to also use the Facebook. So if you like our page, if you message us, we'll try to reply as soon as possible. And it's a more direct contact. But don't think about it twice. I mean, even going through the assessment, through the recruitment process, I think is also already a very good experience, right? You're not risking absolutely anything, right? We don't have any blacklist. Like if you come to the assessment center and you're not accepted to the program, that gives you great feedback. You know where you stand. You know what skills you have. You know what skills you could still develop. You know which areas of knowledge you are good at. You know which directions you can take to grow. The ones that are still, to develop. It really is a great experience. To even go through that assessment center, and the next time you go through any other assessment center for Cisco or any other company, you already have that experience. You already know how it is to talk to a manager. You know how it is to talk to an engineer, how it is to, present a presentation to us, doing all of that in English. I mean, it's a great experience, right? And it is really worth going through that. And I mean, very often people underestimate their skills and competencies, I would say, right? I often hear when we go to universities, I often hear that people are a bit afraid of applying to Cisco right after studies. You should not. You should not. Really, all the pictures that I showed you, they are just people like you, and maybe just bold enough to apply. But honestly, do apply, and then you'll see, right, how it goes. We also have people who applied several times for a job at Cisco, and they eventually got it. They learned from the feedback. I'm not going to say it's super easy to get a job at Cisco, because if I said that would mean that we don't have, we don't want quality in people. But if you're passionate, if you're communicative, you're willing to learn, because I think that's the most important. You really want to learn, you want to study, you want to discover something new, you want to go on a bit of a journey with us, right? And with other people across Europe, then it's for you, and you shouldn't think twice about applying to it, right? Let me just see if, I think that's it when it comes to questions. So I wanted to thank you very much for listening to me for such a long time. And I always wish that I could actually talk to you in person, but at least I was able to answer a couple of your questions. I hope that it was informative enough, and that basically that I'll see you in the assessment centers, right? So you still have 2 weeks to apply, so don't think about it too much. If basically you like what you're hearing, you like the idea, then try it, and then you'll see. So yeah, thank you very much for today, and have a great afternoon, and hope to see you at Cisco someday. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.